Okay, so in this video we're going to cover formulae and equations with brackets, and I'm going to show you one or two little tricks that could be helpful. So just like equations, you can choose from two methods that include brackets. You can either expand the brackets or you can use the idea of inverse operations, and I'm going to show you this one using both of those methods that we've got and to show you that they give you the same thing. So if I do method 1 over here for this first one, I'm going to expand the brackets before I try and make y the subject. M multiplied by y is my, and m multiplied by n is mn. Now to make y the subject, I'm going to have to subtract that mn, so it's x minus mn equals my. Now I'm going to divide by m to get y by itself, so that's x minus mn divided by m, like this. So this would be an acceptable answer for making y the subject. Now in this way, the second method that we can do, we can use our idea of inverse operations. So this is y plus n, and then it's being multiplied by m. So if I want to get rid of that multiplying by m that's at the beginning, I can divide by m. And if I divide by m, I immediately get rid of that m that's at the front. I'm saying if I get rid of that, I'm just dividing by m, okay? So all I want to do now is make y the subject by subtracting the n. So it will be x divided by m minus n equals y. Now this answer here is also correct. Well, why is this answer correct? Let's have a look at this one that I've written down here, and I'm just going to do a little bit of annotation at the top to show you that x minus mn over m is the same as x over m minus n. So x minus mn over m, well actually that is saying divide this whole thing by m. It's the same as dividing this by m, which is x divided by m, minus mn divided by m. The way that it works is you can do this part divided by m and this part divided by m. When you do this part divided by m, the m's cancel, and so this is the same thing as x over m minus n, which is exactly the same thing that we've got down here. So even though they look different to each other, they are equivalent, okay? Right, let's try this one that we've got here. We're going to make y the subject of this equation. I'm going to do method 1 on this side, and then we'll do method 2 on the other side. So method 1 is going to be expanding the brackets. So a is equal to a half y, and then a half times the 2 that we have. A half times the 2 is going to be 1. So it's a half y plus 1. So I'm going to do a subtract 1 equals a half y. And I'm now trying to make y the subject, but it's been multiplied by a half. So to make y the subject, I could either divide by a half, which is the same thing as multiplying by 2, or to make this 1y, if I double this side, I can also double this side. So if I want to double both sides or multiply by 2, I'm going to do 2 brackets a minus 1. I'm taking this thing and multiplying it by 2. Now let's try it the other method, which is the inverse operations. So inverse operations means just try and get rid of this thing to begin with. So it says it's y plus 2, and then it's being halved. So the last thing was being halved, and the opposite of being halved is doubling, or multiplying by 2. So 2a is just equal to y plus 2, and now I'm going to subtract the 2, so 2a minus 2 equals y. And hopefully you can spot that these two things I've just highlighted here and here are equivalent, because this is 2 brackets a minus 1 is 2a minus 2 when you expand the brackets. Okay, we're going to have a look at a couple of tricks now, and we're going to have a look at this trick where first of all the x is in the denominator, or the variable you're looking for is in the denominator. So trick number 1, the variable or the subject is in the denominator. Okay, let's do the normal method. Let's take it's y divided by x. I'm trying to make this the subject. I don't like it in the denominator, so I'm going to multiply by x to get rid of it. Now if I multiply by x to get rid of it, I get y equals ax. And now because I want x as the subject, I'm going to get rid of this a by dividing by a, so that I get y divided by a equals x. Now look what's happened. The x was down here and is now up here. The a was up here and is now down here. So I think what looks like has happened is it looks like they have just swapped places. So if you have this kind of question, you can see that if the subject is in the denominator, it will swap with the expression or the variable on the other side. Because it's going up and that one is coming down. So that's why the x going up here and then the a coming down, that is the thing that makes them switch places. So I'm going to quickly do these two examples and then you're going to have a go at these two. So if you want to do it the long way, that's fine. But this one, you can just spot that the x, which I want to be the subject, is going to swap places with the y like this, so that we're going to end up with 3 over y equals x. And then these ones are also going to switch places, so that we get 2 over 2y equals x, but this can simplify because it's like a fraction, and this 2 and the 2 cancel, so you just get left with x equals 1 over y, or 1 over y equals x. So you've got 2, you can have a go here, pause the video and have a go and see if you get the same as me. So again, I'm trying to make x the subject, so those are going to just switch places, so it's just going to be x is equal to b over a. And again, these are going to switch places, so x is going to be equal to b over 5a. The whole thing here switches places because you multiply it by the x and then you're going to divide by the 5a. So there's this swapping going on. That's number one trick. It's got swapping going on. Now this one is a similar kind of thing. There is going to be a sort of swapping that happens. And in this trick number 2, this is when you are subtracting the subject. When you are subtracting the subject. And in this case, the subject that we're aiming for is x. So you can see that we're subtracting x. So you could, if you wanted to, you could get rid of the y like this by subtracting y. So you get minus x equals a subtract y. But then you have to get rid of this negative, and that would be dividing by a negative. You'd be doing a minus y divided by minus 1. And we don't really like dividing by a negative because it just gets kind of messy. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to move the x so that it becomes positive. If I move this x here to the other side by doing the opposite of take away x, that's plus x. So I would get that y equals a plus x. Now remember, I'm trying to get x as the subject, so I'll get rid of this a by subtracting, and I get y minus a equals x. So the x was here, and now it's here, and the a was here, and now it's here. So hopefully what you can spot that's happened is, again, they have swapped places. So when you are subtracting the subject, it swaps, or it will swap with the expression or the term on the other side. Now, if you don't remember this, because it just feels like you've got too much to remember, look, you can just do the process yourself like this. You can just do x equals y minus a. Quick side note, when we originally did this, we said that y minus x equals a, and I said, right, we get minus x equals a minus y. Now, if you wanted it to become x, what we're doing is negating it. We're changing it from a negative to a positive. So you would change the a from a positive to a negative, and the minus y from a negative to a positive, which is the same thing as y minus a. So you do actually come up with the same thing as this. So we're going to make x the subject of these two, and then you're going to do it of these two, and then we're going to do a little video on fractions. So the shortcut for this is they're just going to switch places. So a minus b is going to be equal to x. And the shortcut here, because we're subtracting the thing we want as the subject, is going to switch places with the c on the other side. So x is just going to be equal to 2y minus c. You've got 2 that you can have a go at, so quickly pause and see if you get the same as me. So the x and the b are going to switch places, or you could do the long method. So 11a minus b equals x. And then in this one here, the 4y and the x are going to switch places. So x is equal to z minus 4y. If you don't think you're going to remember that, just do the slower method to see how they switch. So next video, we're going to be looking at there being fractions on both sides. Found this video helpful? Then why not drop it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. If you'd like the next video in the playlist, you can click here to be taken straight to it. And as always, wishing you the very best for all your studies.